everybody, and welcome back to another advice video by DissociaDID. So this video is going to be all about therapy, and if you haven't been to therapy before, how to approach it in the way that's going to give you the best amount of preparation for what's going to happen. So when it comes to therapy, the first thing you're going to want to do is figure out what it is that's troubling you. And that might sound really obvious, and you're thinking, yeah, Chloe, of course I know what's troubling me, otherwise why would I be looking for therapy? But the idea behind this is that you need to get down the most troubling points, the things that are bothering you the most. So is this anxiety, depression, fatigue, psychosis? Are you suffering from bereavement? Are you having trouble regulating your mood? Can you sleep okay? You should write that all down, because it can be very stressful when you first go into a therapy session. You're faced with someone you have never met before, a complete stranger who you're expected to open up to completely and tell them all the most vulnerable parts of your life that you might not have told anyone else before. So that can be very overwhelming, which I completely understand. So when you're figuring out exactly what it is you want to bring up or why you're looking for help, if you write down at least, say, 3-4 things that are your biggest issues, so you can make sure that that therapist gets the immediate idea of what they need to do to help you. Because like I said, it can be very overwhelming and you just end up stumbling over your words and you're like, oh my God, I know there was stuff I need to say, but everything's happening and So it helps to be prepared, write down some notes, make sure you bring them to therapy with you. The next thing about when it comes to looking for therapy is don't expect that after one therapy session everything's going to be magically healed, or that your therapist is going to come up with a magic cure and immediately know what to do. Therapy can take time unless it's a very easy issue or something that's like a temporary issue in your life. And also don't go to therapy expecting a diagnosis. It really depends on who you're seeing, but generally it takes time to get a diagnosis for something. So don't self-diagnose yourself. I wouldn't recommend going in and saying, hi, I've got schizophrenia, and they go, how do you know that? And you say, oh, I took a quiz online. Don't do that. Go in, present your issues with them and say, I've done some research and I feel like a lot of the symptoms I'm experiencing fits descriptions I've seen for schizophrenia, DID, depression, bipolar, or whatever it is you feel like you're suffering from. And then they can give you the advice. If you go in and let them know that you're 100% sure that you already know what's going on, they're going to be a little bit skeptical and less likely to take what you're telling them about your other symptoms seriously, because if they think you're self-diagnosing, then they're not going to know whether you're exaggerating certain issues to fit in with a certain diagnostic criteria. So be very honest, present your symptoms as they are. You can say like, I've come to this session and this is what I want from it, so these are my issues, can you help me? But don't go, I'm here for a diagnosis of blah, because they'll be like, interesting. That's their job, leave it to them. So you might be thinking, all right, Chloe, this is all very good and well, but how do I get into therapy? What do I need to do to look for someone who can help me? First things you need to consider are money. Can you afford therapy? Where do you live in the world? If you're in England, do you need to go through the NHS? Are you looking into private therapy? Are you looking for a counsellor, a therapist, a psychiatrist, a GP? What is it that you want to talk about? And then you can decide what fits best for you regarding what you need from them and your price range. And also, it really depends on what it is you're talking about. If you are looking for help for something like DID, you may need to look for a therapist who specialises in dissociative disorders or trauma-related disorders. If you live in the middle of nowhere, you might be thinking, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to travel really far to get the help I need. So those are things you need to look into is, can you get there? Who's close to you? Look up reviews, recommendations and things like that about them. You want to be trusting this person with some very intimate information about you and you want to know that they're going to do their job well. So distance is important, cost is important, and recommendations are very important. Now, if you've just listened to everything I've just said and you're thinking, right, okay, that means I can't have therapy, I'm going to ask you to think about why. What is it that's bothering you that you need therapy for, and what is it that's standing in between you and getting the help you need? Maybe you're physically disabled and you wouldn't be able to make the journey to get to a therapist's office. What if you have really severe social anxiety and you don't feel like you'd be able to handle talking to someone one-on-one in person without having a panic attack, or you don't think you'd be able to deal with the stress or the pressure of it? Maybe you have agoraphobia and you can't go outside and your symptoms are bad enough that you're refined to one place and you can't leave the house. You could even be thinking about how much therapy costs, whether that's physically, emotionally, and financially, and whether you're equipped to handle that yet. So even when it comes to ringing things like support lines, I know that people tend to throw around like, oh, you know, if you need help, ring this number. And I know so many people who really get awful anxiety around phone calls, and that kind of wipes that option out for them. Or also, if you need help and you need to call someone, but perhaps you're from an abusive home, or you live somewhere where you don't want to risk someone overhearing you asking for help or talking about your struggles, then that can be very, very difficult. And I know what it's like. I've been there. But I actually have a loophole for you if that is something that would prevent you from going to therapy. If any of those things are something that is going to stand between you and getting the help you need, I think that everybody should be able to get help when they need it, especially if you don't fit into society's general category of being able, whether that's physically or emotionally, mentally able or healthy. Then surely that makes it even more important that you get the help you need. In regards to this, BetterHelp have been nice enough to reach out to us about this so that I can tell you about how you can receive therapy without actually leaving the house, because I know that that can be a really big issue for some people, and I know that that's been an issue for me in the past as well. You can video call them, you can ring them, and if, like I said before, you have trouble ringing on the phone or you can't risk being overheard, the best thing about BetterHelp is that you can text them. They have text lines and they'll message you from directly a counsellor that is your counsellor. So you don't have to ring them, you don't have to leave the house if you can't manage it, whether that's physical or you're not mentally in the right space to be able to leave the house. You can message them and get the therapy that you need. And this is exactly what I needed a few years ago, and I think that it's fantastic that a service like this exists now, because I remembered staying up late at night and searching desperately, like, surely there's some kind of text line, surely there's something that I can do that doesn't involve me ringing or leaving the house. I need help now and I can't find it, and I couldn't find anything. So I think that it's really important that they've managed to create something like this, and that's why I'm choosing to share this sponsor with you, because I really do think that it could make a difference to some of you out there, and I would not recommend something to any of you, regardless of if we were being supported by them or not, if I didn't genuinely believe that they could make a difference in terms of mental health. So if that idea of BetterHelp interests you, you might be wondering how it works with therapy. BetterHelp provide online counselling, which is at a better, more affordable rate than face-to-face counselling. So if, like I said, money is an issue for you, or you struggle to afford therapy, which can be very, very expensive, BetterHelp have a weekly rate of between $35 to $65, and that is for as much therapy as you want. You can message them at any time of the day or night and they will be there for you. There's no limit on the amount of therapy you can have for that price. You could talk to them literally 24/7 if you want to, and that price isn't going to increase. It's unlimited therapy, which is, you wouldn't get that if you went to someone face to face. And it's not a gimmick either. I've checked it all out. In order to become a therapist or a counsellor working with BetterHelp, you need to be licensed, fully trained and accredited, so you know that you're in good hands with them, because like I said previously, if you're going to therapy, you want to check out the person you're working with so you know that they know what they're doing and that they've got all the right qualifications. So BetterHelp sort that all out for you, plus you can look up who's going to be taking your therapy sessions so you can check them out. They're LGBT friendly. You can choose whether you want a male therapist or a female therapist. You can choose whether you want a religious therapist or a non-religious therapist. therapist, which is very, very good in my opinion, especially if you've suffered from maybe cult abuse or ritual abuse, and you can say, I don't want anything to do with religion, I want that on my blacklist, I want a non-religious therapist who's gonna listen to me and not bring anything other than my issues into it. I think my favourite thing about knowing that there's now text services out there like this is that it puts a lot less pressure on you. So if you were freaking out about me saying like, you need to write down all this stuff and it's going to be, you know, a really stressful experience, therapy isn't supposed to be super, super stressful. It's supposed to be helpful, and that goes for all types of therapy. But if you are someone who is prone to having anxiety attacks or who gets stressed very, very easily, then the good thing about being on a text line is that you can take your time to formulate a response. You don't have someone looking at you and you have to think on your feet. You can kind of take a break and think, right, okay, so what is it that I need to say? What is it that I'm really feeling right now? Take a minute and then respond. So it puts a lot less stress on you. If you're bringing up something really upsetting, you can cry without having somebody watch you, and everything is in your control. So if you feel like BetterHelp would be a better choice for you than face-to-face therapy, they have a sign-up process which I went through myself, which you can see on the screen. This sign-up process helps connect you to a therapist that's best for you based on your struggles and your experiences and your preferences, which I think is really good. What you can see on the screen right now are my honest answers that got me connected to a therapist, so please don't judge how bad my mental health is, because it's not great. That's why we're mental health advocates. But yeah, in my experience, I was matched with a counsellor within 24 hours, which is what they claim to do, so that's really good as well. If you want to sign up, they created a link especially for you guys, which is betterhelp.com/Chloe. And using this link will help support DissociaDID. So if you'd like to sign up and help us, then please do use our link so that we can keep providing you with educational videos and the advice that could help other people who are in need. I will say though, if you're planning on signing up to BetterHelp, you have to be 18 or over to use the service. And also it's not ideal for people who are suicidal. But we put together a long time ago, as in like when we started DissociaDID, so like 5 months ago, we put together a big list of suicide and mental health hotlines worldwide. We went through as many countries as we can, and you can find that on our Facebook page, and we'll also link it in the description below. So if you are suicidal, please, 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 please reach out. I know how horrible it is. So yes, please do consider using our link to help support DissociaDID if you feel like BetterHelp would be something that's helpful for you. But if you're thinking, no, I think I can go to a face-to-face therapist, I can afford it, I can leave the house, I can handle calls and stuff like that, I want to see a therapist face-to-face, so what should you do? Yeah, there. So what should you do then? Remember to bring your list that I told you is a good idea to write down everything that you want to say, or at least a few key points of what you want to say. And if you forget that, don't worry, it's okay. Just make sure that you take time to breathe and don't feel too rushed. I know it can feel really stressful, especially if you've been waiting a long time for an appointment and you suddenly got it and you're like, oh my God, it's finally happening. I need to tell them everything. Where do I start? What's happening? They're asking me questions. It's okay. Don't forget to breathe. Just take some time. And I know that especially if you're going into the waiting room and you have to wait to see your therapist, that's when stress levels start rising, and that's when you can feel the butterflies going in your stomach, and it's, you know, maybe it starts to get hard to breathe if you suffer with anxiety. I think that it's a good idea to research some grounding techniques, some relaxing techniques, so that you can use it in the waiting room. So that could be things like repeat to yourself what you want to say when you go in. Don't forget to bring something, if you're a very tactile person, if you can bring something to touch that will ground you. So maybe that's like a little scrap of fabric that you find really nice and soft and nice to touch and relaxing, or something a little bit rough. You know, maybe you're standing behind a wall, there's a wall behind you, or the chair, and you can just run your hands over the brick and focus on that. How does that feel? Just remember that you're really there, especially if you're dissociating. Feeling textures that are rough or very, very cold or a different temperature can help you ground yourself in the space that you are, rather than being sort of sucked into your head and all these emotions that you're experiencing. So when you go into the waiting room, if you can, look around you, try and count colours, remember your birthday, what do you like to do, what was the weather like outside, what time is it, what do you want to talk about when you go in, and just remind yourself that you've got this and it's going to be okay, even though it's really, really scary. If you have anxiety, I keep saying it can be so scary, but you've got this and they are there to help you. This is their job. I can guarantee you there is nothing you can say that will surprise them, especially if they have a lot of experience in the industry, so don't worry. Another thing that I want to say is be as honest as you can. Don't try and make light of it, because this is your chance to get help. So if you're like, oh yeah, no, actually that doesn't really bother me that much, or oh, it's not really that bad, especially if that's something that you tend to do, like I tend to do that a lot, that's not going to help. That's going to go the opposite way. In these kind of situations, you need to express just how much your issues are interfering with your daily life. So try to avoid shifting the blame and saying like, oh yeah, no, it's not really that big a deal, or maybe I'm overreacting, or whatever like that. Try and avoid saying those things. Just be very, very honest, be very, very candid. Say, yeah, I'm struggling. Yeah, this is really, really difficult for me right now, and that may be extremely embarrassing for you, especially in front of someone you don't know, but they've heard it all before. They are here to help you. They've had training. They are going to be empathetic people by nature, and they've got you, and this is your chance. So make sure that it's a good chance, okay? You're paying them to listen to you, so make sure that you say everything you need to say in the session. Make sure that they're taking you seriously. If you've said something and they seem to brush over it, if you have the confidence to say, oh, I don't really think that you understand what I meant there, and repeat it again, and then make sure you stress that this is one of my biggest issues, or this is something that really interferes with my daily life. This is something that I need help with. This is something that needs to be fixed. Make sure you drill that into them, that, you know, don't brush over this, because it may not seem like a big deal to you, but it's a big deal to me. So yeah, make sure that you get what you came for, not in terms of like a diagnosis or something like that, but make sure that you've said the most important things and that they're listening to you. And I'm sure that they will listen to you, but some people don't have as good experiences where maybe they don't feel like the therapist picked up on the most important aspect of what they came to tell them. So make sure that you say the most important aspects first and really drill that into that therapist, that this is my big issue and this is what I want you to focus on. This is what I want to concentrate on in the session. So I think those are probably the best points for starting therapy. Like I said, this is sort of a beginner's guide to therapy. Don't forget to pay a therapist on the way out. If you need to, don't forget to rebook a session, things like that. Don't feel like you have to rebook a session. If you don't feel a connection with your therapist, that's very, very important. It might take a few sessions to kind of feel their vibe, if you know what I mean. But if you meet them and you immediately feel like, no, this is not my kind of person, or for some reason you feel like you don't trust them, or you've got like kind of conflicting issues in the way you think, like the way you inherently feel about things, then it's absolutely fine to not see them again and look for someone else. The most important part of therapy is finding someone who you feel you could grow to trust, even if you feel like you can't trust anybody, which is fine. Trust me, especially in our system, we've been there, it takes a long time. But you need to at least have a feeling of that this person is trying their best, and that you feel like there's a possibility that maybe if they understood enough that they could help you. I think that's really important. So I hope that this has been helpful for some of you, and I'm just going to say it again, if you can't handle face-to-face therapy, BetterHelp is out there. Please, 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 if you're going to sign up, use our link, because BetterHelp have offered to support us if you use our link. So if you enjoy our videos and you find us educational, or you'd like to do something to help the channel, please use the link BetterHelp /Chloe to help help us keep doing what we're doing and bringing you more helpful advice and educational videos. So if you want to know more about dissociative identity disorder, which is generally what this channel is about, as well as other mental health issues, we have a playlist which is called Debunking DID, which debunks all the stigmas and inaccurate information around dissociative identity disorder and tells you about all the scientific proof behind it, the psychology behind it, why it's there, what it does, what it means to live with dissociative identity disorder. So feel free to check that out. If you want more advice videos, we have a whole advice playlist. If you want to get to know us, we have a Meet the Alters playlist and a Meet Our System playlist. Feel free to go and have a look at that. I really hope that some of the information and videos on this channel will be helpful for you, and if you are looking into going into therapy after this video, then I have to wish you all the best of luck, and I believe that you can do it, and it's scary, but you've got this. Don't worry, you will be fine, and if you do it, then hey, leave us a message, tell us how it went. Okay, so good luck, and I guess we'll see you all in the next video, guys. Lots of love, everybody. Bye.